Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel CCNA Day 2. I am your trainer Muhammad Ayub. In Day 2 guys, we are going to learn how to set up a new router in any organizations. So see how will you set up the new router into the organization. Let me show you the interface of the router, how it looks. Router interface. See guys, in the routing switching, we need to set up a router and switches. In any organization, there is a LAN setup. For this, we are going to set up the new router in every organization. What will happen is guys, the LAN setup is already there, so we need to give a support to the organization. But in some scenarios, if uh, if an organization is going to if the new organization is going to start, so that they will purchase a new routers and switches. So for this, we need to configure from starting. So I'm going to tell you that how to set up a new router. See the interface of the router, how it looks. So in the router, there is a multiple ports is there. So this is the console port. This is the serial port, which we can say is the serial 0 or serial 1. There is a two port in the interface. You can see that in the image. This is the fast Ethernet ports, FA01, FA02, and this is the console port. This is the auxiliary port, and this is the power switch, and this is the power cord. And the console cable is look like this, as you can see in the image. Let's go to the notes. First we see the definition of the router. Notes is important guys. Pause the video and take a screenshot of notes and make a note of it. In the IP addresses, I am going to make a video on this for IP addresses after the completion of this course. See this. Router functions. Why will use a router? It is used to enable the communication between two or more different networks. Like two or more different network means like the IP addresses, there is a classes, class A, class B, and class C. You are going to learn IP addresses classes in the after completing this series. So what will happen, guys? Say for example, in Hyderabad branch we are using a class A network, and in the Bangalore branch we are using a class B network. So class A and class B are different networks, right? So for this, to make a communication between the two branches, so we will use a router to make a communication between the two branches and two different networks. The main function of the router is to enable the communication of the two different networks. This is the definition of the router. See, router companies, the companies running in the market like Cisco, Nortel, Juniper, D-Link, Linksys. There is a two types of routers, guys. First is non-modular, and the second one is modular. What is the difference between in the interview? The interview will ask you the questions like how many types of routers, so you need to answer them like there is a two types of router. One is the non-modular and the modular. The difference of the two router is in the non-modular the port or components are fixed. We can't change the component and ports in the non-modular router. But when you see in the modular router, you can change the components, and the modular the parts or components can be changed. We can change the parts and components in the modular router. See the Cisco series router series 700, 800, 1700, 1800, 2500, 2600, 3500, 3600, like this. You will get a series in the market based on the business requirement. They will take the series of the router. So this is also showing you how the interfaces look like a router, like auxiliary port, the serial port, or we can say that the WAN port also. These are two RJ45 ports and the power socket and the on off switch socket. See this WAN ports, smart serial 26 pin, normal serial 60 pins, administrative port, console port also we can say that for administrative port, internal component of the router, ROM, flash, NVRAM, RAM. Pause the video and take a screenshot and read the this heading of the router. How it will start from boot sequence. You will see into the notes how it will start the router. So let's go to the practicals. How to set up a new router. New router setup. Let's copy the topic. First we'll set up a LAN. In every organization there is a LAN. Some systems and switches and routers will connect it. This is an example of the LAN. So what will happen guys when you purchase a new router? So the router is not a setup as per our requirement. So we have to set up a new router based on our requirement. First we'll remove this. We'll take a new router. This is our series. You can take any of this router. We'll do one thing. We'll start from the starting so that you will understand how to set up a LAN. So this is the palette where you can take a routers, and this is a when you click in the router, you will get the series of the routers. Anyone you can take. You take anyone, guys. We'll take 1800 series. When you click in the switch, you will take the switch, and in the systems you can take the any PC or laptop. When you press to this button so that you can get the kind of physical connectivity. So for router to switch, we'll take a straight cable. Firstly, we'll take from switch to the system FA01, FA0, FA02, FA0. Then from router to fast Ethernet FA0. to FA03. See this, and we'll take one desktop to configure our new router. So remember guys, if you configure a new router into the organization, what are the things you need? You need one PC or laptop and one console cable to connect to it. This is the console cable. Let's see the all the cables which we have in the panel. This is the console cable. This is the straight copper straight cable. This is copper crossover cable, fiber optic cable, phone cable, coaxial, serial DCE, serial DTE, and octal IoT custom cable and USB cable. So for to connect from switch to router, we'll use copper straight cable, and from router to switch also we can take copper straight cable. First, if you want to set up a new router, so that we need a console cable. See into the image, I will show you the how the console cable look likes. This is a console cable guys. This is the console cable to connect our new router from PC or any laptop you can connect. So we'll take console cable, we'll connect to the PC. See this like 1 2 3 4, these are four ports are in the any PC or any like laptops. You will see these ports. So for this RS232 is the communication port, like com port also we can say that communication port is there. So everyone knows that the USB cable is there, USB 10. FA0 is the internet port is there, RJ45 also we can say. So for set up a new router, we need to connect into the PC communication port. Remember guys, this we need to connect to router. What we need to set connect into the port, communication port. Then we put into the console of the router. So open the system, go to the desktop and go to the terminal. Then okay. See, this is how the new router look likes. Press enter, no, press enter. So see this router greater than. What is this sample? Come to the notes. I will tell you what is this sample. This sample is guys. See this. This is the user mode. See router greater than is the user mode. When you press enable, you will get a privilege mode. See the hash symbol is there, right? So when you type the enable, you will go to the privilege mode. In that privilege mode, if you want to see the setups of the router or what are the configuration we have done in the router, so what is the command guys? Show startup config and show running config. These are the two commands to check the configuration of the router. So we'll check the router configuration. Show running config. See this, it will show the all the details of the router, the like version of the router, host name of the router. We will explain later what is the host name. Then spanning tree, interface FA0. See these guys, interface FA0, FA0 and FA01. What is this? I will show you in the image. Interface this. See these ports. This is the FA0 and FA01. Fast Ethernet ports. This is the ports, right? We have already discussed, right? This is the fast Ethernet ports, and this is the serial ports, and this is the console port which we are going to configure the router. This is the administrator port also we can say. For any configuration we will put our console cable into the console port only to configure the router. And this is the auxiliary cable, auxiliary port, and this is power on port, power on switch. So what is interface VLAN 1 we'll discuss later. line console 0, line auxiliary 0, line VTY 0, space 4. These are the configuration of the router. So for every router, the all the ports by default itself disable. So we need to configure and we need to enable it. So for this, we need a syntax to configure and enable the ports. So for that, we need to go to the configuration mode. See this config terminal. When you type the config terminal, you will go to the global configuration mode. See this router config hash. That means you are going to configure the router. So config t. See this guys. Before it's showing like router hash. Now it's showing router config hash. So for every router we have to set up 5 steps. Remember guys, and take a screenshot of this. Pause the video and take a screenshot of these 5 steps of settings. For every router we have to set up the 5 steps. Like firstly we need to configure the Ethernet port. That means we have to give the IP address to the router. Then the second port configuration, console port configuration we have to configure. Then third one is we have to configure the auxiliary port. Fourth one is we need to configure the telnet passwords. And the fifth configuration we need to configure the enable password. So one by one we will going to configure all the steps. See how to configure. So what is the command? Interface Ethernet pass Ethernet 0/1. Enter. We are going to have IP address to our router to connect. Any IP address you can give guys. So in this example we give IP address 192.168.1.100 and subnet mask also will give for class C 255.255.255.0. Enter. When you press no shutdown, the port will up. No shutdown to enable the port of the fast Ethernet port. See this interface fast Ethernet 0/1 change state to up. Now the port is enabled. Then exit. Our first configuration has done. I will show you the what we have done in the configuration. For this we have to exit from the configuration mode. Press exit. Then to check the configuration, what is the command guys? Show running config. Show running config to check the configuration of the router. Show running config. See this. Previously the FA01 has no IP address. Sorry. Previously the FA01 has no IP address. Now it has showing this 192.168.1.100. So like this we have to configure all the 5 things. Then we need to configure the second step. What is the second step guys? Console port configuration. First we configure this one. I will go show you the image. First we configure this port and giving IP address to the port to connect to the router through IP address. Then we are going to configure this console port. This is the console port guys. We are going to configure this. So go to the practical. Line console 0. Like this you can do the configuration. Okay, config 2 to configure the ports. Line console 0. Enter. Password. Any password you can give guys. So we are going to give subnet. Subnet and login. Exit. Then what is the third configuration guys? See the nodes. configuration of auxiliary port. This is the auxiliary port. We are going to configure this auxiliary port. First we have configured this fast Ethernet port. Then we have configured the line console port. Then we are going to configure the auxiliary port. For this, what is the command? Line AUX auxiliary 0, enter. Password subnet. We are going to password to not use unauthorizedly to any other person. So for this, for network administrator, as a network administrator, we have to configure then we have to give the password to all the ports. Then login, exit. Okay, what is the fourth configuration? Configuration of telnet password. What is the telnet, guys? Telnet means like if you are in the LAN network. So if you want to connect our router from anywhere in the floor, like if you are in a first floor, in a second floor, into the LAN. So as an administrator, you have to configure wherever you are in the floor. So for this, every task you don't need to go to the server room and configure the router. So for this, you are going to configure the telnet password to connect to our router in the LAN. Why we are using a telnet password? To connect our router into the LAN. So for this, what is the command? Line vty is 0/0 space 4, enter. Password subnet, login, then exit. What is the fifth command, guys? Enable password. Enable password subnet, exit. See this, what will happen, guys? When you configure all the ports into the router, basically it will save into the NVRAM. From NVRAM to RAM, what is the command to save the configuration to the router? If say for example, if you have not saved the configuration and your router is going to restart, what will happen? Your all the settings will collapse. So for this, if you want, if you don't want to lose your settings, so what you have to do? You have to just put a write command to save the configuration. Write to save the configuration. See this. Now your all the settings have been configured. To check the configuration, what is the command? Show running config. Show running config. See this. Previously FA0 don't have the IP address. Now we have given the IP address. And previously line console 0, there is no any password. Line auxiliary 0, there is no any password. We have set up this, and line VTY subnet we have given. So like this you can set up a new router. So for next class we will see how to configure this serial port. See this into the image. Now this class, what we have learned so far, we have learned how to configure the fast Ethernet port, auxiliary port, and the console port and auxiliary port. Into the next video we will see how to configure the serial interfaces and serial port. Then we are going to start our static routing. So thanks for watching, guys. Do like, share and subscribe, and press the bell icon to get the latest videos. Thanks for watching.